Hello everyone, and welcome to the Best Practices to Grow Your Service Contract Sales webinar hosted by Mize with leading experts from the industry. I'm Nick Hall, the Customer Engagement Manager here at Mize, and I'll be moderating the webinar today. So with that, I'd like to invite our first panelist, Eric Arnhem, editor of Warranty Week, to share about the state and trends taking place in the service contracts industry. Eric?
Thank you very much, Nick. So let's do a brief overview of the service contract industry for the last couple of years. As Nick mentioned, I'm the editor of Warranty Week, which is an online publication. If you're not a subscriber, I welcome you to do so. Go to warrantyweek.com on the web. It's free, so I'm not going to sell you any subscriptions or anything. There's about 8,000 people reading it now, and I'll have an issue coming out later tonight. The industry as it used to be, and I'm talking more about the consumer industry than the business-to-business industry. What it used to be was it was almost like a casino. It was almost like a wager that the consumer was making with the retailer. The consumer was wagering that something's going to break, and the retailer was wagering that it wasn't. And that break-fix cycle, you know, some people it paid off, the bet paid off, some people it didn't. And a lot of the criticism of the industry was about the odds and the cost and things like that, you know, you were better off maybe not buying a service contract. But what's happened in the past couple of years is that the amount of coverage, just the sheer amount of products being offered has increased incredibly. For laptops and mobile phones, you see things like accidental damage becoming available, and for mobile phones especially, loss and theft. So that it's no longer about, you know, breaking the phone and fixing the phone, it's about losing the phone or dropping the phone or something like that. In the automotive industry, we've seen it go from just plain vehicle service contracts or mechanical breakdown insurance, as some people call it, to you know, covering all sorts of perils, dents in the doors or cracks in the glass, the wheels and tires. The gap is going to insure you against a loss of the vehicle, where you may owe a certain amount of money on the loan, and the car's been totaled. Then there's etch for anti-theft, key fob coverage. There's many more ancillary sorts of coverages that you can buy. The key here is customization. You're innovating the offerings, customizing the offerings for the consumer, and that gets them to buy more, or at least to get them to buy something. In the old days, you could hope for a attach rate of, you know, basically 1 out of 3. Now you're talking about more than half buying something. And in the mobile phone area, it's even higher than half. You can clearly see the effects of the recession from 2007 to 2010, give or take. There was a very noticeable downturn in the service contract industry. I'm counting here premiums paid by consumers for the last 11 years. Chopping it up into 6 different categories. For passenger cars and light trucks, you see the VSCs. Mobile phone insurance is for the smartphones. Retail electronics, that's for the TVs, the Best Buy, you know, what have you. Computer OEMs, that's for the laptops sold by Dell, HP, others. Home warranty is the system sold by American Home Shield and other companies. And then you have the retail appliance service contracts. That's from Sears and Lowe's and Home Depot, companies like that. In 2016, the industry added up to $41.4 billion. About 40% of that was vehicle service contracts. About 1/4 of it was mobile phone insurance, and about 1/6 or so of it was the retail consumer electronics contracts. But the thing is that you can see, just as much as you see the effect of the recession in 2009, you see that things are starting to plateau in 2015, 2016. Now here I'm not counting the ancillary coverages, you know, key fobs and etch and glass and things like that, just the vehicle service contracts. And this is just for the consumer vehicles, the passenger cars, light trucks. There's a lot more revenue in B2B, especially with construction vehicles, with fleets of vehicles and things like that. I think Michael will be talking a lot about that. But here you see a $17 billion industry, but not a whole lot of growth in 2016, up only about 1%. Now I'm presenting three of the categories here together because there's a little bit of mobile phone in each of them, and I'll explain that now. In with the computer OEMs, well, Apple is a computer OEM, and they sell AppleCare not only for the Macintosh but also for the iPhone. In the middle category there in pink, the retail electronics, that's you know, Best Buy, Target, companies like that. Well, they also sell mobile phone service contracts. And then at the bottom are the phone companies. That's the mobile phone insurance that covers loss and theft as in addition to droppage and breakage and things like that. That's Verizon and AT&T in the dark orange at the bottom. But more than anything, you see that this is also beginning to plateau, as if the industry is searching for direction and new sources of growth. Here, the last two categories I'm presenting together again, because this is really covering things like refrigerators and stoves, washers, dryers, heating and cooling systems in the home. At the top in bright green, that's Sears and Home Depot and Lowe's. The bottom, that's the dark green, that's American Home Shield and the home warranties. They're covering the same products really in different ways. The retailers sell it, you know, one product at a time, while the home warranty companies cover the whole household. But there's no slowdown here. You can't see any sort of plateau at all. The retail appliance service contract business was $1.6 billion, 7% growth last year. Home warranties, $2.2 billion, and 10% growth last year. I should mention that home warranties, it's a peculiar part of this industry because what they're covering there is existing homes. And it's very popular with the sale of existing homes. It helps actually to sell the existing home, while the retail appliance service plans are being sold for brand new appliances. You know, that's at retail, Sears and places like that. Last year, Warranty Week did a study of about a dozen different types of products, just looking basically at the price of the product and the price of the service contract being offered to cover the product. We looked at microwaves and stoves, washers, dryers, televisions, printers, laptops, cameras, and a couple of other different product categories. Here you see the results of the look that we did at refrigerators. We took a look at, I think it was about 350 different refrigerators. We looked at 19 different retailers, and the products that we looked at ranged from those, you know, $100 cube refrigerators, those small little ones that you put in a dorm room or you know, an office or something like that, all the way up to 3,800 top-of-the-line Whirlpool models. Now, we identified two trends. The first one is here, and it's pretty obvious. I think everybody could have guessed this without looking at all the data, that basically the longer the service contract, the more expensive it is. And what we're doing here is comparing the price of the service contract to the price of the fridge. So the 2-year contracts start out at around 11%, and the 10-year contracts end up at around 24% of the price of the product. Overall, there's a 16% average, which means that the price of the coverage is about 1/6 the price of the product, give or take. Here's the one that was a bit surprising, is that the more expensive the refrigerator, the less expensive the protection plan. And what I mean by that is that if you take all of the, and I divided it basically into three more or less equal groups, so around 100 something in each of these categories. If you look at the inexpensive refrigerators, the average price of the coverage was 24%. If you look at the most expensive refrigerators, the average price of the coverage was only about 10%. Once again, the average is 16%. So what you see is that basically the more expensive the product, the less expensive the coverage. And I was somewhat surprised, but that checked out with all products, not only the refrigerators, but also televisions, microwaves, laptops, printers, cameras. Seem to be the case with every single one. And I think what this shows is that there's a sort of basic price of repair, and that doesn't really vary much by the, or it doesn't vary as much by the price of the product. So in other words, the most expensive refrigerators are, less expensive to repair. The least expensive products are more expensive to repair. And in fact, the cheapest products will probably not be repaired at all. They'll be replaced. At the end, I think we'll have some time for questions, but now let me yield the time to, back to Nick and then to Michael.
Thank you, Eric, for sharing those insights. It's really interesting stuff. Now I'd like to invite Michael R. Blumberg, President of Blumberg Advisory Group, to share the best practices and findings from a recent survey on extended warranty and service programs. Michael?
Okay. Yes, thanks, Nick. Thank you very much, Nick. And very fascinated by Eric's research. I'm going to just bring up my screen now. I want to share with you some results of groundbreaking research that we completed very recently on best practices in marketing and selling service contracts. This research was done in conjunction with myself and Ron Giantini from Giantini and Company. Actually, the name of this company now is G35 Software. Ron and I have been advising companies on how to market and sell service contracts for the past 30 years. And we see the market, it's a $90 billion market when you add the consumer warranties that Eric shared with us. It was $40 billion, and then we estimate the extended service contracts and extended warranties on B2B equipment in the B2B market is another $50 billion. And we believe that market, that B2B market, will grow by 15 to 20% per year. And what's driving that growth are all these amazing trends, fascinating trends we've been hearing about, like use of IoT technology to support the equipment, the servitization of products, where you're basically giving the product away, and so you're selling an outcome. Basically, you're giving the product away, and the outcome you're selling is availability and uptime of the equipment. And when you do that, that's almost like selling a service contract. So that's driving the growth, as well as this trend towards Uberization of services. Ron and I were really a bit frustrated that we thought there was a lack of benchmark data on what companies were doing to be successful in marketing and selling service contracts. So there's a lot of market data, best practices, KPIs, benchmarks on operational and tactical issues associated with managing extended service contracts, but we didn't see that there was anything in the market when it came to how well companies were doing in marketing and selling these service contracts. So we undertook this research. So we believe it's the first of its kind. And in our study, we had 205 warranties professionals who participated in the survey. They were from a broad range of business functions, like some of them were in service contracts, others were coming from finance, others from the warranty department. 80% of our respondent base is from North America. 50% of our survey respondents had 16 years or more of experience in pricing and selling warranties. Most of our respondents were from B2B, so 72% of our respondent database is in the B2B market. And to participate in the survey, The respondents need to be either involved in developing the extended service contract or in taking the risk in delivering the contract. So we weren't including people or companies, we weren't including people from companies that just sold service contracts but didn't deliver service on these contracts. And so we had the objective to identify best practices and evaluate what's most important in driving performance. So one of the first things we looked at was warranty configuration. Eric was talking about how companies are looking at ways they can sell more contracts, service contracts. And our assumption is that the more distinctions, it was and it still is, our assumption is that the more distinctions you can make about a service contract, the more effective you're going to be at selling these service contracts. In our database, we found that the majority of the respondents offered an extended warranty program or a service contract. So when I say extended warranty program or extended service contract, we basically mean a service contract that people pay for. And again, the majority offer a standard service contract. A small percentage offer customized programs. So that's one distinction we're already seeing that's driving the attachment rates. And most of the programs are either 1 to 2 years in length or 3 to 4 lengths. We tend to see shorter lengths when in the consumer markets and longer lengths of service contracts in the B2B and durable equipment market. It tends to be that in some of these consumer products that the turnover life cycle is very short, like cell phones. People replace their cell phones every 1 to 2 years, whereas, let's say, an airplane, durable equipment like that, might be a 10, 20, 30-year life cycle on that. So service contracts are longer there. But another distinction are the processes that are covered. So as you can see from this chart, we've identified a number of different processes that could be covered in the service contract. A large majority, 93.2%, offer basic break fix, corrective failure. There's other services that they can be offered, but very few of the respondents offer them. So for example, remote product monitoring. Only 30% of our respondent database offers that. Planned inspections. Now that would probably apply towards some of the durable equipment. That's only 36%. So what's very interesting to me is that I'm often being asked by clients, companies call me and say, help, I need help. We're not selling enough service contracts. We're not sure what we should do. And when I dig under the covers, I find out that they're not really getting into these distinctions. They're just offering break fix, whereas when I compare them to companies that are doing well, they're providing more processes. They're supporting more processes in their service contract. Another distinction that can be made are the resources that are employed in those processes that are covered. So as you would expect, 80% provide spare parts, 76% provide on-site field service. But the numbers start to decline when you get into categories like loaners and self-support tools and remote support and advanced exchange. So again, this is another way for those manufacturers and those retailers and even independent service organizations that are trying to find ways to sell more service contracts to do so. And that's by expanding the resources, providing more resources to the customer when they have a problem and covering more types of problems. And one of the last distinctions we found was the level of performance you assure your customer. And again, this is something that I found, and Ron has found this too, is that oftentimes when we talk to our clients, when they first call us and talk about their challenges, when we ask them, well, what kind of performance do you include? And they say, well, it's industry standard. Well, what does that mean? Well, we can get there within the industry standard. Okay, again, what's the industry standard? Well, in 4 hours. Actually, let me take that back. They say within a day. So we say, okay, well, maybe there's a way to improve that standard. Maybe you can get there within 4 hours. If you can get there within 4 hours, there's a very good chance that more people will take the service contract. Or the other thing is they don't guarantee it. They just say they meet industry standard, but they're not putting in their service contract that service level agreement where they're basically guaranteeing that someone will be there in the exact time frame, in that time frame. So we can see here different kinds of performances that can be offered in a service contract, but most of the respondents surveyed are not including these performance guarantees in their service contracts. As part of our survey, we also asked our respondents, are they using any kind of tools or applications to configure and price and quote extended warranties or extended service contracts? It seemed to us if you're going to be offering a service contract with lots of different distinctions and being able to customize them, you'd have some tools. So 87.5% of our respondents indicated that they're using some form of application, but the real interesting thing, when we ask them what is that application, it's pretty basic rudimentary things. So for example, spreadsheets. Some of the respondents thought that pen and paper constitutes an application. Almost half are using the functionality found within a CRM application. Ron and I's belief is, on our experiences, is that that's pretty limited. And many times those CRM and ERP applications, when they have a CPQ in it, it's product oriented, it's for products, and if it's for services, it primarily treats services as an SKU item in a contract. What we really think drives the ability to configure, quote, and price service contracts in real time, and the ability to do that in real time and to be flexible in that process drives sales, is to use a standalone CPQ application. Only 13.8% of the companies are using that, and 5.3% are using some other form of tool. So we believe having a software system or application that facilitates the ability to configure, quote, and price service contracts drives attachment and renewal rates, and also to the extent that that process is dealing with the entitlements. The process is covered, the resource is covered, and the performance guarantees provided. As part of our survey, we were also interested in what kind of marketing tactics, sales and marketing tactics, the respondents utilize to drive sales. And as you might expect, a lot of the respondents are using standard tactics like direct sales. So when they, at the point of sale, they offer the service contract or the extended warranty and a brochure. Only a small percentage are using other types of tactics like reputation management, customer endorsements, and testimonials to influence buying decisions. But the truth is that there's a lot of different marketing tactics that a company can use, and what's also true is that these other tactics, several of them are more effective than direct sales alone. So the survey respondents indicate that customer endorsements and testimonials as well as reputation management is more effective. So what we've done here is we've asked them to evaluate each of these tactics. We asked the respondents to evaluate each of these tactics on a scale of 1 to 5, and where 5 is highly effective and 1 is not at all effective. And what we're showing here are the percentage of people that rated these tactics either a 4 or 5, that they were on the high end of the scale. So one way to increase the influence more people and have more effective, is to expand the tactics, to use telemarketing, analyst reports, consumer reports, social media marketing. Also, what reputation management is using, monitoring social media channels, and when somebody has a good experience, they promote that to the channel. If somebody has a bad experience, they very quickly do something to resolve that problem and encourage that person with the problem to put out in social media how the problem was resolved to their satisfaction. That's what reputation management is. So another set of data points which I think everyone is anxiously waiting for is what is the typical experience with attachment rates. So this is the attachment rate, and we're showing the percentage of companies that have an attachment rate of less than 10%, of 10 to 25%, 26 to 50%, and so on. And you can see it's pretty evenly distributed across all these different performance levels. We think if you're doing a 51% to a 70% attachment rate, that's above average. If you're doing more than 70% attachment rate, that's best in class. And only 16.7% of the respondents we surveyed are best in class. And in case you weren't sure, attachment rate is the percentage of times a service contract is offered and the customer buys it. This is on the first chance they get to buy it. We're not talking about renewals. That's a different metric. In fact, that metric is over here. And we see a similar distribution, almost, that less than 14.1% of the respondents have a renewal rate of less than 50%. 50 to 75% attachment rate is achieved by 25% of respondents, and so on. So again, we think that if you're doing a 76 to 90% renewal rate, that's good, very good. If you're doing more than 90%, you're in the best-in-class bucket. And so a little bit less than 1/4 are best-in-class. So best-in-class performance improves. Once you sell the service contract, the renewal experience might be better. If you're delivering service, if you're performing it well, there's a good chance people will renew. But we're curious about what sets best-in-class companies apart from average and also ran service companies. And what we found here is that, first of all, companies that are selling to businesses, they're in the B2B space, are likely to have a higher contract attachment rate than those who sell to consumers. And we think that's because that many of the B2B products, they're durable, they're more complex, they require more support. Oftentimes the people using it don't know how to support it. There's also more likelihood in selling a B2B product, or selling a product in B2B, that there's a professional salesperson involved who's trained on selling the service contracts, gets commission for that. There's also more issues involved in selling it. There's more things you need to articulate and explain. When you're selling a consumer service contract, it's usually sold at the point of sale. It's usually a very basic offering. There's not a whole lot of training involved in selling the contract, or the ability for the seller of the service contract to the consumer to handle objections, respond to objections, make concessions to the customer. There's some other factors that influence these attachment rates. Most importantly is the ability to customize the agreement, ability to terminate the agreement early, ability to negotiate the price. Got a little bit tongue-tied there. And last three, there's an asterisk here because it's not really validated through our survey, but we know from firsthand experience that by making these distinctions about the service contract, distinctions in terms of the processes covered, the resources provided, and the performance guarantees offered, that this influences attachment rate. We also know from firsthand experience that providing formal, consistent, and persistent sales training, including coaching, following up, and monitoring performance, also drives attachment rates. And we have found that companies that implement all these tactics are likely to have attachment rates of 50% or more. If you do all of them well, you're very likely to be in the best-in-class bucket. So how do we know that? How do we know this? So the proof is in the pudding. So what we did here is we went to the data and we correlated the attachment rate. We looked at those people that had an attachment rate of 50% or more, and what percentage of them were using these different tactics. So basically what this shows us, I know it might be a little busy, is that only 44% of companies that offer a standardized service agreement have attachment rates of 50% or more. Companies that offer customized contracts as part of their offering are more likely to have attachment rate of 50% or more. So 60% of the respondents that offer both standard and customized have an attachment rate of 50% or more, and so on. And so if you just simply rely on offering gold, silver, or bronze, rather, only 26% have an attachment rate of 50% or better. So the optimal is to offer either all customized. Well, actually, now I am hedging a little bit. If the optimal is to offer a combination of standard and customized. The standard kind of piques people's interest, but the ability to customize, letting them change it. And we'll show you some ways they can customize it. Not just the configuration, but are there penalties? So companies that say that you buy a service contract, but if you terminate early, there's a penalty. The penalty being you got to pay the whole price of the service contract. You're obligated to pay. So only 31% of those companies have an attachment rate of 50% or more, but 57% of the respondents who give their customers the ability to terminate either with a penalty, some form of penalty, or no penalty, and that penalty might be like a 10% charge. They're more likely to have an attachment rate of 50% or more. In fact, this is what it shows. 59% that allow consumers to terminate early have that attachment rate of 50% or more. We also found something similar when it comes to attachment rate as it relates to the ability to negotiate the price. So we're seeing a slightly higher percentage of companies that allow their customers to negotiate a price have an attachment rate of 50% or more, 31.8% compared to 24.2%. So now let's look at some of the tactics that influence the renewal rates. So there are also major differences in the renewal rates between consumer markets and B2B markets. Again, for similar reasons, because consumer products, let me rephrase that, consumer warranties are usually offered primarily at the point of sale. There hasn't been as much effort after these service contracts expire to get people to renew them. Second of all, some of these products have a real short life cycle. The factors that influence renewal rates are periodic billing, ability to extend the length of the program, the ability to terminate early, and the frequency of notification that the program is about to terminate or is up for renewal. We found that companies that use these tactics are likely to have a 90% renewal rate or higher. And the ideal time to invoice them, either it's monthly, let customers pay you monthly for the service contract, or annually. And so 32% that bill monthly have a contract renewal rate of 90%. 33% that bill annually have a contract renewal rate of 90%. But when it comes to just doing it when they sign up the first time, very low performance when it comes to renewal rates. Only 5.6% have contract renewal rates of more than 90%, and those that offer quarterly, only 8.3% have contract renewal rates of more than 90%. So you might be asking yourselves, well, they're going to do monthly, and they seem to like that. Customers seem to like that. It leads to higher contract renewal rates. They also want to are willing to be billed annually, and 33.3% have contract renewals of 90% or more. Why not quarterly? Well, here's what it comes down to, is that quite often those companies that have annual billing offer a discount for the annual billing. So some consumers want to take advantage of that discount. There are others that are saying, no, I don't want that because I'm not sure I'm going to keep this service contract. So bill me monthly, or they may have an issue with cash flow and they want that. That's what's driving it, is either getting the discount or there's an uncertainty that they're going to continue. So the quarterly doesn't make a difference. It's the monthly or annually that's really driving the contract renewal. And we talked about termination with and without penalties. The same is true here. Almost 44% of the people we surveyed have contract renewal rates of 90%. Let me rephrase that. Is it 44% who offer the ability to terminate early have contract renewal rates of 90% or more, while only 25% that do not provide the ability to terminate early have contract renewals that high. Another factor we looked at that's driving the contract renewal rates is how frequently they provide a notification of when the contract is up for renewal. So by providing 4 or more notifications, it's likely that you'll be able to have a higher contract renewal rates. In fact, this slide is showing that almost 1/3 of the respondents who provide 4 or more notifications have contract renewal rates of 90%. That renewal rate goes down drastically as the frequency of notification decreases. So key takeaways here is that the more distinctions a company can make about their extended warranty or extended service contract program, the better the program will perform in terms of revenue generation. And more specifically, the factors that are influencing this performance are the configuration or scope of offerings, being the processes performed, the resources covered, and the performance that's guaranteed. The flexibility of the programs. Can you customize it? Can you extend the length of it? Can you negotiate the price? Can a customer terminate early? That will also drive performance. And then third is having a structured and disciplined process in place for renewals, in other words, having that notification, and also providing sales training, both on the initial sale and the renewal. And I'd add to that being able to handle objections in that structured process, monitoring, having a dashboard on the performance of the sales process. That also is part of this discipline process. Fourthly, the breadth of the marketing tactics will also drive attachment and renewal rates. That there's direct sales, there's reputation management, there's sales tactics. Part of this discipline process and part of the tactics may also include reporting to the customer that these are the number of service events that occurred, and this is what happened on the event, and this is how well we met the terms of our agreement, being the service contract. And lastly, the use of automated configure, price, and quotation tools like those are offered by Mize and other software vendors that have this ability to offer the CPQ customizing service contracts. So if you're interested in learning more, if you're interested in our in-depth report of findings, you can contact me. Also, if you want to compare the service performance of your organization, the ability to sell of your organizations against other organizations, if you're just trying to get better results, please feel free to reach out to me at michaelb@blumberg-advisor.com, and I'll now turn it over back to Nick. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Michael, for sharing those interesting best practices and survey findings. Now I'd like to invite Eric Marlin, our Senior Product Manager with Mize.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Marlin. I'm the Senior Product Manager with Mize. I'm responsible for the product roadmap for the Mize Connected Customer Experience Platform. Now that you've heard about the industry and best practices from Eric and Michael, I'm going to discuss how My Service Contracts Management software and solutions helps to enable your service teams and channel partners to implement and optimize these best practices in order to grow the customer base. Depending on your industry needs, you can quickly configure any of the value-added services which Michael discussed earlier. You can easily set up and configure different coverages, different prices, using the Mize Policy Manager tool to offer these types of programs to your customers. If one program is not as profitable, you can quickly inactivate that program in order to sell only profitable programs. Quickly add value-added programs beyond just the break fix to differentiate your services from your competitors to grow predictable and recurring service revenues. Mize is the only software that connects end-to-end for OEM, channel partners, and customers to increase your attach rates and renewal rates. What if you sold contracts and services for the entire life cycle of the product? How much money is still being left on the table over that lifespan? Generally used to selling products only, you need to have different capabilities to enable channel partners the ability to effectively sell services to streamline that revenue and profit. Mize provides sales enablement to channel partners and sales teams for identifying products with upcoming warranty expirations or renewal of service contracts. In addition to selling, you need to enable channel partners to deliver better customer value so that customers can have a better overall experience. Companies have an opportunity to engage customers, provide those notifications, and present offers to increase those attach rates and renewal rates. Mize's My Customer Portal helps customers to buy those new service plans, track any existing service plans they already have, and request new services. Customer self-help service portals provides access to things such as knowledge, support requests, and service order status, which reduces calls and improves that customer overall satisfaction. The Buy Now option makes it easy for customers to quickly purchase any additional programs that you have to offer. Reach customers via web, mobile, email, SMS, text, social media, to stay in touch and engage those customers in all different channels. Michael mentioned 4 or more notifications reaches that 36.4% attach rate. So with the Mize solutions, we make it simple for those notifications regarding those expirations. It allows customers to engage with that Buy Now option. Deliver differentiated service experiences through streamlined administration and process automation. Administer and manage the contracts and programs quickly and efficiently. Register the service plans, validate contracts, calculate entitlements, and track cancellations or those customized modifications that Michael mentioned earlier. Manage customer support and service delivery to enhance that customer service experience. Automatically generate service requests to dispatch technicians, and generate and submit claims for services performed under service contracts. The Mize Field Service Management solution enables field service organizations and their service network partners to improve customer retention, increase technician utilization, and grow the service profits. Quickly dispatch and schedule service providers to perform repair or delivery services as per the terms of the service contract. Manage your technicians' time more efficiently, more effectively to enhance that service delivery. Gain actionable insights to drive service contract sales. Mize CX Insights are powered by an industry-leading BI platform to provide reports, analytics, and actionable insights to drive sales and performance improvements. Service contract administrators have easy access to these reports, which are designed to track the impact of your business and to help realize new sales within your business process. In summary, you cannot grow with obsolete systems and services. You need an integrated system that supports all channels, including web, mobile, and customer portals. Mize is the only software solution that connects all stakeholders and processes to maximize service contract revenues, profitability, and customer value. We help you to automate and streamline multiple channels to reach your customers. Maximize that customer lifetime value with Mize Service Contract Management Solutions. Offer those end-to-end solutions for OEM, channel partners, and customers to improve profitability and customer satisfaction. Configure flexible service programs based on the industry, product, and customer needs. Enable channel partners the ability to sell, renew, and fulfill those service contracts. Simplify the customer buying process with My Customer Portal for self-service. Engage those customers on all channels with notifications. Streamline service contracts. Enhance service delivery by managing field service technicians' time more effectively, and gain that actionable insight to drive your service contract sales. We at Mize look forward to further discussions with you as you look to grow your service contract management processes. Thank you for your time. I will now hand back over to our moderator, Nick Hall, for the question and answer portion of the webinar. Nick?
Thank you, Eric. We'll now open it up for any questions from the audience. Feel free to post your questions in the question panel in the GoToWebinar link. We did have a few questions come in during the presentation. So Eric Arnhem, it looks like the first question is for you. You referenced a few percentages in your slides. Can you expand on those percentages? Are they insurance premiums or retail prices?
Retail prices paid by consumers. I didn't get into the amount paid to the insurance companies, but it's the amount paid for the contracts by the consumers themselves.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then our next question from the audience, Eric Arnhem, I'll point it to you first, and then Michael, feel free to elaborate. What differences do you both see between B2B and consumer service contracts?
Well, I'll start, but Michael's done a lot more work with the B2B sector, so I hope he'll give a more complete answer. But I alluded to the idea that for most consumers, you're really talking about one item, one TV, one laptop, one washing machine, and what are the odds of that product breaking and needing repairs or replacements? And that's really the basis of the whole service contract industry is, what are the chances? When you talk about B2B, you're talking usually about fleets of trucks, fleets of planes, fleets of printers, copiers, fleets of laptops or desktop computers. Chances are that something's always going to be broken at any given point in time. So it's not if you're going to need a repair, but when will you need a repair and how quickly will that repair be completed? Michael?
Yeah, that's a good point, Eric. So the fact that there's more products that are covered under the contract is one of the differences. But also, I find I've seen in consumer, it's more of a one-size-fits-all. There might be only one flavor of a service contract, maybe with the ability to add loaners to the contract or replacement items. Within business, there's more entitlements that could be included in the service contract, more added value services or value-added services that are included in the contract. Contracts can be longer. The B2B customers spend more time analyzing them. This I'm being a little bit tongue-in-cheek here. The print is a little bit bigger in business service contracts, or if you ever looked at the contract that comes when you buy an extended warranty, it's really hard to read. They're basing the sale based on what's in the brochure, what's in the signage in the store, for example. So I think I covered that. And again, if I haven't said so already, that there's something in the B2B contracts called a service level agreement. It's basically guaranteeing the level of performance the customer is going to get.
And let me add to that although Michael, you're completely correct in that most of the consumer service contracts are one size fits all, things are changing. And I'll just give you two examples of that. First example, if you go to Amazon.com and you look for a service contract, chances are you'll not only be offered, 2-year, 4-year, 5-year, whatever you want, but you may also be offered something. One contract may come from SquareTrade, another contract may come from Assurant, another contract may come from Warranties, some other providers. So they are actually offering competing service contracts on the single Amazon page. The second thing is that when you go and you buy mobile phone insurance, you can buy sort of, options like a Chinese menu. You can buy the accidental damage or maybe not. You can buy the loss and theft or maybe not. And each component comes with a different price. And it's also added to the bill. You mentioned this, Michael. It's added to the monthly bill, which is an incredibly convenient option for the consumer.
Yeah, those are good points. I've seen that as well. I just add a rebuttal to this, or just another point. In the B2B, I think it's more of a consultative sale, and you're absolutely right, Eric, that if a customer wants other choices, they have to go find those other options on their own. They're not getting it on the same page or for this same salesperson of the product, the other options. They have a vested interest that the salesperson of that product has a vested interest to sell their service contract. They're usually not offering competitive contracts.
Great, thank you. And then Eric Arnold, a follow-up question to the initial question that we had for you. Can you expand how much is the top-up on the insurance premium to the retail price? And also, are mobile contracts profitable to insurers?
Wow, could spend about an hour on each of those. It varies per product. The premium paid by the consumer, the sales agent, the retailer or the dealer who sells that is going to take a commission off the top. And based on the contract they have, and really the clout of the retailer or the dealer, that commission can be anywhere from 40 to 50%. In some cases, it can be even higher than that. And then the administrator has to take an administrative fee, and then the insurance company ends up with the rest. It really varies, but if I had to say, rules of thumb, figure half is commission, about a third is administrative fee, and the rest is going to the insurance company. Now, Nick, what was the second part of that question?
The second part was, are mobile contracts profitable to insurers?
It depends who you're talking about. I was really shocked to find out that SquareTrade hasn't been making money for the last 4 or 5 years. They only revealed that when Allstate bought the company. Well, actually, they didn't reveal it. Allstate revealed it. So a SquareTrade contract, no, is not profitable. But when you go with the phone companies, or certainly when you go with Apple for AppleCare for iPhone, those are far and away profitable.
Okay, great. And then the last question for the webinar, how can we get channel partners to focus on selling service contracts? We could start with you, Michael.
That's a very good question. We're hearing that from a lot of our clients. So all too often, when manufacturers are trying to sell services, or trying to encourage their channel partners to sell services, they're not providing them with the same type of tools and training and support as when it comes to selling products. So I think that's one of the things that could be helpful, is providing more of that to customers. Not just like, hey, you got this product and we've got services, go get them. It's really helping them understand what the value and the role is, and what the objections might be from a customer to buy them, how to overcome those objections, but also they need to also show their customers, once they buy the service contract, that they're performing that they're there for them, that when they do have a service call, that they're providing them with the reporting, that this is how frequently you called us for service, this is what we did to resolve the problem, this was the outcome. So I think that's would help.
Let me just add to that one thing on the consumer side. I suggest you take a good long look at Best Buy. And what they've done is they have packaged the idea of service with the Geek Squad. The idea in the consumer's mind, if you have a problem with a product, bring it back, talk to the Geek Squad. If it doesn't work, bring it back, talk to the Geek Squad. They have sort of turned service into a commodity and turned themselves into a destination for that service. Most other retailers, it's sell and done. Call the 800 number, don't bother us. But Best Buy has really made their mark with saying, if you have a problem, come back to us.
Yeah, they've conditioned the customer to see the value of service. And they don't want them to return the product, they want them to keep the product.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, appreciate it. That's all we have for today, and we'll make sure to follow up after the webinar on any remaining questions. We do have a winner for the free pass for the Extended Warranty and Service Contracts Innovation Conference in Nashville. It's going to be Stefan Blaze from Fujifilm. Congrats, and we'll make sure to reach out to you via email personally. Also, I want to thank all of our presenters today. I hope you all found the webinar informative and useful as you grow your service contracts business. You will receive an email with the slides and the link to this recording, so please keep an eye out for that. And please contact us to learn how you can optimize your service contracts management business. Thank you for attending the webinar, and that concludes the webinar. Thanks.